You still firmly believe that China is that backward country you saw in those old 90s documentaries, a place completely filled with dark factories, rusty bicycles, and cheap plastic products. In the modern West, we have been aggressively sold the false and highly comforting illusion that the Asian giant only knows how to poorly copy our technology and that it could absolutely never equal our high standard of living. But raw economic data and historical records explicitly reveal a truly terrifying reality. While we uselessly argued on social media, they executed the fastest, most brutal, and highly massive industrial and technological transformation in all of human history. In just 24 short years, they successfully compressed an entire century of absolute development. But right before revealing exactly how this relentless governmental machinery completely rebuilt a modern empire entirely from scratch and thoroughly humiliated the arrogant projections of Western superpowers. Eagerly make sure to hit that like button on this video right now. Quickly subscribe to the channel if you are truly passionate about directly discovering raw geopolitical reality and deeply understanding how the brutal forces of the global market and extreme technology are actively redrawing the map of world power right before your very eyes. Your crucial support is absolutely vital to seamlessly continue bringing you this deep level of investigation that traditional media heavily prefers to censor to avoid scaring their corporate advertisers. Turn on the notification bell and let's discover these 15 mind-blowing changes. Number 15. The relentless and highly explosive expansion of the high-speed railway network. In the year 2000, traveling across the immense Chinese territory aggressively implied getting on extremely slow and heavily suffocating green trains that took entire days to slowly cross just a few provinces. Today, they proudly possess an advanced bullet train network spanning over 40,000 kilometers in total length, overwhelmingly surpassing the absolute sum of all high-speed networks in the rest of the entire world combined. They masterfully built massive bridges over deadly deep valleys and ruthlessly drilled through impossible mountains to seamlessly connect entire major cities at 350 kilometers per hour. What would take the United States entire decades to hopelessly debate and finance, China built instantly. Number 14. The absolute and completely radical eradication of physical cash. At the very beginning of the new millennium, China was a developing economy deeply based on highly falsified physical banknotes and extremely cumbersome and frustratingly slow paper transactions. Today, it is the absolute first society on planet Earth that is truly completely cashless, where traditional paper money is practically a highly useless and forgotten museum relic. Absolutely everything, from quickly buying a highly luxurious sports car in Beijing to dropping alms for a street beggar in a remote rural village, is seamlessly done by aggressively scanning a QR code with WeChat or Alipay. They completely skip the era of Western credit cards and directly digitize the financial lives of 1.4 billion citizens. Number 13. The brutal and completely unstoppable monopoly of electric vehicles. Just exactly 2 decades ago, the highly chaotic streets of Chinese metropolises were heavily drowning in a toxic thick smog, directly generated by millions of gasoline motorcycles and extremely inefficient imported cars. The West openly laughed at their early automotive attempts, but China astutely monopolized global lithium mines and silently perfected advanced battery technology in the dark shadows. Today, gigantic corporations like BYD not only overwhelmingly surpass Tesla itself in absolute global sales, but they aggressively flood European ports with highly advanced, fully autonomous and ridiculously cheap electric cars. They rapidly went from being extreme polluters to ruthlessly dictating the electric future that the West now desperately attempts to illegally stop. Number 12. The deeply alien mutation of its massive sprawling megacities. Shenzhen was, until very recently, a simply dusty and highly impoverished fishing village, completely surrounded by muddy rice fields and cheap clothing sweatshops, strictly for Western export. Between the year 2000 and 2024, this city violently mutated to aggressively become the absolute Silicon Valley of global hardware, heavily constructing massive glass skyscrapers at a truly terrifying and relentless pace of one entire floor per week. Modern Chinese metropolises simply do not have highly decadent historical downtowns. They are immense dense forests of gleaming crystal, hard steel, and bright neon lights heavily powered by artificial intelligence that make iconic cities like New York look painfully outdated and completely obsolete. Number 11. The deeply humiliating and highly aggressive conquest of outer space exploration. At the very beginning of this millennium, the Asian space program was widely considered a simple technological joke, and the United States strictly forbade them from actively participating in the International Space Station. In direct response to that extreme arrogance, China aggressively built its very own highly advanced modular space station, Tiangong, operating completely independently and highly successfully in low Earth orbit. But their true massive blow of absolute global authority was achieving the very first soft landing on the dark far side of the moon and sending highly advanced rovers to Mars. They rapidly went from being completely ignored by NASA to becoming the absolute main stellar threat in the galaxy. Number 10. The deeply monstrous and highly automated e-commerce ecosystem. Back in the 2000s, buying absolutely anything online in China was physically impossible due to the total lack of shipping infrastructure and the complete absence of any commercial consumer trust. Today, massive giants like Alibaba and JD flawlessly operate the most gigantic and truly terrifying robotic warehouses on the planet, where millions of individual packages are aggressively sorted by dense swarms of robots completely without any human intervention. They have successfully managed to guarantee consumers receive their online purchases in a matter of mere hours, heavily utilizing aerial flying drones and completely autonomous vehicles to reach the most remote rural villages. Their commercial logistics are so absurdly fast and perfect that Amazon truly looks like a traditional company. Number 9. The highly aggressive and completely relentless colonization of 5G telecommunications. While the cautious West slowly debated about the health safety of new networks and heavily suffered with highly unstable internet connections, China brutally covered its immense continental territory with millions of advanced base stations, from incredibly deep underground mining shafts successfully operated remotely with fully autonomous heavy machinery, to the very lethal and freezing summit of Mount Everest itself. Chinese internet connectivity has absolutely zero blind spots. This massive invisible infrastructure seamlessly allows their smart cities to flawlessly manage dense traffic, power grids, and public security in absolute milliseconds. They aggressively built the most massive digital nervous system on planet Earth, creating a hyper-connected society that can absolutely never be turned off. Number 8. The deeply apocalyptic and completely inescapable system of mass surveillance and artificial intelligence. In the year 2000, social control heavily depended on an immense physical police force and massive mountains of paper files heavily stacked inside dusty government offices. Today, China has aggressively deployed hundreds of millions of high-definition cameras equipped with highly advanced facial recognition that can instantly identify a wanted criminal seamlessly, walking among a dense crowd of 60,000 people in strictly less than 3 seconds. It is an absolute digital panopticon where advanced artificial intelligence relentlessly tracks your daily purchases, your intimate friendships, and your minor traffic violations instantly. They completely sacrificed Western individual privacy to efficiently obtain the massive country with the absolute lowest global crime rate. Number 7. The truly miraculous and highly aggressive eradication of extreme rural poverty. At the very beginning of the 21st century, hundreds of millions of Asian peasants heavily lived in conditions of absolute abject misery, barely surviving on less than $1 a day in highly remote rural areas. The government ruthlessly executed the most gigantic physical relocation and extreme social engineering campaign in human history, physically moving entire isolated villages from highly inhospitable barren mountains straight into brand new modern cities fully equipped with massive infrastructure. They successfully managed to forcefully lift over 800 million people out of extreme poverty, actively transforming them into the most consumerist and highly powerful middle class in the world. It is a titanic economic achievement that no capitalist democracy has matched. Number 6. The highly aggressive and completely absolute dominance of global renewable energies. Just barely 20 short years ago, the rapid, massive growth of Chinese metropolises was heavily fueled by the highly lethal and massive burning of extremely polluting dirty coal that completely darkened their urban skies. Today, although they certainly still consume coal, they are the absolute and undisputed kings of global green energy, aggressively manufacturing vastly more solar panels, highly advanced wind turbines, and next-generation nuclear reactors than any other entire continent. They have heavily built immense solar farms so ridiculously large in their arid deserts that they can be clearly and easily seen directly from outer space. They silently hijacked the entire global green supply chain completely, forcing the world to buy their green tech. Number 5. The massive and completely unstoppable factory of STEM scientific brains. While highly prestigious Western universities gradually prioritized soft humanistic and social science degrees, China aggressively redesigned its massive educational system. Exactly like a highly relentless industrial assembly line, annually, they successfully graduate millions of highly advanced engineers, brilliant mathematicians, and high-tech scientists, completely crushing the university statistics of the United States and Europe heavily combined. They absolutely no longer need to steal Western intellectual property or illegally copy foreign blueprints. Their massive laboratories now actively publish the absolute highest amount of cutting-edge scientific research in the entire world. They have heavily forged a massive intellectual army strictly programmed exclusively to absolutely dominate technological patents, quantum materials engineering, and advanced biotechnology globally. Number 4. The deeply aggressive diplomacy of the global infrastructure debt trap. Back in the 2000s, China's international economic influence was highly minimal, and strictly limited exclusively to its immediate geographic border zones. Today, directly through the monstrous and highly ambitious Belt and Road Initiative, they have aggressively bought and heavily built massive deepwater ports, immense continental railways, and vast electrical grids throughout the entire African continent, Latin America, and even inside Europe. They have practically taken over global maritime trade by aggressively lending billions of dollars to highly developing countries that simply cannot pay it back, ruthlessly seizing their critical infrastructure. They absolutely did not send heavily armed soldiers to successfully conquer the planet. They silently sent ruthless and brilliant civil engineers. Number 3. The brutal and completely unexpected monopoly of video games and digital entertainment. Until very recently, Asian youth religiously consumed massive Hollywood blockbuster movies and exclusively played gaming titles heavily developed in Japan or the United States. Today, massive Chinese megacorporations exactly like Tencent and NetEase are the absolute owners of the most highly profitable video game studios on Earth and aggressively dominate the global market. They have rapidly begun to aggressively export their own culture, with massive worldwide phenomena, like the highly acclaimed video game Black Myth Wukong, which completely shattered historical global sales records. Hollywood absolutely no longer dictates to them what entertainment should be. Now Western audiences actively consume massive productions designed, heavily financed, and entirely programmed in Beijing. Number 2. The truly terrifying and absolute supremacy of advanced quantum technology. Massive Chinese supercomputers previously used to be built entirely utilizing Western microchips, heavily depending strictly on American technology to efficiently process their immense amount of raw data. Today, they have successfully achieved absolute quantum supremacy, heavily developing highly advanced computers that aggressively solve in mere microseconds highly complex mathematical calculations that would literally take the absolute best Western systems many thousands of years to process. Furthermore, they successfully launched the world's very first quantum communication satellite, seamlessly creating an incredibly advanced military data transmission network absolutely invulnerable to any type of modern computer hacking. They hold the terrifying power to decrypt global secrets entirely, while keeping their own information under impenetrable physics. Number 1. The monstrous and highly lethal expansion of their absolute military power. At the very beginning of the year 2000, the Chinese army was incredibly massive, but heavily utilized, totally obsolete Soviet-era technology that absolutely did not represent any serious military threat to total American hegemony. 24 short years later, they actively launch a brand new, highly advanced warship almost every single month, currently proudly possessing the absolute largest naval force on planet Earth. They have successfully developed everything from completely undetectable 5th-generation stealth fighters to highly lethal hypersonic missiles heavily carrying nuclear warheads that modern Western defense systems simply cannot intercept. They rapidly went from being a regional force to becoming a war machine absolutely ready to dispute global control. 15 completely radical transformations that completely and utterly shatter the arrogant Western narrative that modern democracy is the absolute only path toward true extreme innovation and absolute global power. In strictly less than a quarter of a century, they have violently altered the geographic balance of power completely forever, aggressively utilizing a highly relentless efficiency that deeply scares and heavily fascinates global geopolitical analysts. If this brutal cold bath of raw geopolitical reality has completely opened your eyes and totally destroyed your old outdated paradigms about the Asian giant, vigorously smash that like button right now. Quickly subscribe to the channel for much more pure hard data and aggressively share this video. Click immediately on the video rapidly appearing on your screen to seamlessly continue discovering extreme realities.